Hi, everyone. Welcome back to She Forbes Podcast. Today's guest is Kim Lengling. Hi, Kim.
Hello, hello. How are you this evening?
I'm great. Thank you for coming on my podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
So, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Kim Lengling. I am an author. I coordinate collaborative book projects, one of which we have just released last month, the second book of a 3-book series, and it's called When Grace Found Me. So here they are.
Oh, yeah.
And the second book was just released last month, and the official launch of it is this Sunday. So we're pretty excited about that. And if anybody's interested in joining in on the launch, you can find those tickets on Eventbrite under When Grace Found Me book launch. So I work with, in those books, I've got 20 women from around the world in each book that are sharing their stories of faith and when God's grace found them in trauma, trials, tragedy, and how they overcame, and how God's grace helps to lift them up and keep them going and moving forward. And now they are, in turn, being a light for others that have found themselves in similar circumstances. So I've just felt very strongly led for almost a year now to get other people's stories out, not only my own story, but others as well, because the more we get out there, the more people we can impact, and for the good, for the good of people. So I'm trying to spread, hope, inspiration, encouragement, goodness, love, kindness, all of that, because the world needs much more of it at this time. Well, all the time, the world needs more of it. So that's what I'm doing currently, literally just getting ready in a few short days to send off the 3rd book of that series to the editor. So that's pretty exciting. And I have a couple other collaborative book projects that are coming up. One is going to be called When Hope Found Me, and that's open to men and women, sharing their story of when hope found them. And also another one that's very near and dear to my heart. It's going to be called Rescue Stories. And that's all about rescue dogs or rescue pets and how they impact. Yes, very dear to my heart. I'm super excited about that one. And portion of the proceeds of that is going to go to an animal shelter, a no-kill animal shelter in my state, to help them with their funding. So I'm really excited about that, because I've had 2 rescue dogs, and in the long run, they've ended up rescuing me. So I'm really excited about that. And I can't wait to hear and read the stories and meet the people that come forth to participate in that one. And another project, I like to keep busy, in case you haven't realized.
Oh, yeah. I love
another project I have is, it's another one that's very dear to my heart. It's going to be snapshots, a veteran's view. So a book of veteran stories. As a veteran myself, and I live with PTSD, I am a huge advocate for veterans and have been for about 24 years, supporting them, supporting their family members, supporting and advocating for those who come home that are transitioning back to civilian life, guiding them, getting them the right direction they need to go if they're struggling. And there's many struggles that not everybody does, but there are quite a few that struggle to transition from military to civilian life. It's not just something you can do right away. So that's another project that I'm hoping to start on in the late fall, is getting veterans together to share their stories, so their loved ones and the general population in civilian life can have maybe a better grasp of what it's like to come home and you've got all this stuff that you've seen and done, and now you're home and everybody expects you to feel great because you're home, but you're carrying so much.
Yeah, they don't know what's going on in that time.
Right. And empathy, family members and friends have tremendous empathy, but unless you've walked in that soldier's shoes or that veteran's shoes, you really truly don't know what's going on. And it's very hard for the veteran, and I can attest to this. It's very hard to explain in the right words that your loved ones or your friends will understand. Like I said, they have empathy, but they can't fully understand it unless you've been there, done that. So I'm hoping that this project, that I get enough, men and women, veterans that want to step forth and share their story, and that we'll be able to get it out there to just spread awareness and educate and just spread love, because we've just so many men and women that have served our country. They're out there doing things that most would not or could not do.
Exactly.
And they volunteered to defend us and our freedoms. And I have the utmost respect for all of those who have gone before me and those who will go after me. So I'm a huge advocate for that. So that's another one of my projects. So that's like, I don't know, 3 or 4 projects I want to work on and before the end of the year. So yeah, I like to keep busy, but my passion is just writing. And like I said earlier, not only sharing my own story, but sharing others' stories as well.
Wow. I love every single thing you just said. Wow. Wow. Because I can relate to everything that you're talking about. So if you ever need help, then I'm there to help you.
We have each other's contact information now.
Definitely. Because the first thing you was talking about telling stories, well, like last year, I didn't think I was going to be accepted at church at all. Like I had piercings, tattoos all over my face, and I was like, I don't think they're going to like me at church. So I tried to kill myself 8 times last year, and I decided to just walk up to church to women's Bible study, and they gave me hugs and everything. I'm like, it was my very first day, and they was hugging me, and I'm like, all right. And so I told them my story.
You said you tried to kill yourself 8 times last year.
8 times. And
you know what? It didn't work. Maybe just for this moment right now, because you're needed here.
Yeah.
You're needed on this planet.
Yeah.
There's a big purpose for you. There's a big purpose for you. Oh, yeah. God bless you, sweetie.
Thank you. And I didn't really want to leave my animals. I'm like, who's going to take care of them if I end my life? Like, nobody can handle my dog because my dog is wild. She's wild. I'm like, man, she does. She has a mind of her own. But definitely. And the whole the veterans thing. I had a cousin who was in the military, and he had PTSD, and he resulted in the drugs and ended his life. So I definitely, that really hits close to home. So I love what you're doing. I really do.
Well, then we will talk again.
So when did you first realize that you wanted to become an author?
Yeah, I call myself an accidental author and an accidental public speaker. It was years ago. We have a yearly motorcycle event here for National POW MIA Weekend, which is Prisoner of War Missing in Action. And so it's through my veteran post. So we've been doing it for 21 years, this motorcycle ride, and we get hundreds of motorcycles that come and ride in it. And we are the voice for those who don't have a voice for themselves right now, those that are prisoners and those that are missing. So, and there are prisoners and there are those missing in action. Just want to throw that in there. They are out there. So we are the voice for that. So I was asked to share a personal story about my step-grandfather, who was the last World War I veteran, the last surviving World War I veteran in our area. Now, World War I's a long time ago. He passed away in 1997. And I think it was in the year 2000 that I shared his story, because he was the last man of the Last Man's Club, which they formed on Armistice Day beside a small bridge in Reims, France. So I shared the story of how that formed, where he was located at, and where all the battles that he was in took place, which was in this tiny little village of Reims, France. So I shared that story in front of this group. I wrote the speech and I spoke, and the group was over 800 people. It was the first time I ever spoke in public. And afterwards, you could hear a pin drop. All those people, all you could hear was birds because it was an outdoor event. All you could hear was birds. Then one person started clapping, and then another. And then the place just, the crowd went crazy. And I just stood there crying. There were television cameras there, newspaper reporters there. It was nothing that I was anticipating. And that was the first time I ever spoke in public. So I was tossed in, but it was a story that I was passionate about. And I was sharing it with 800 plus veterans, you know. And afterwards, the newspaper editor approached me and said, would you like to write a monthly article for the newspaper on veteran issues? And I went, oh, I'm no writer. I don't think I can do that. And he goes, well, who wrote your speech? And I said, well, I did. And he goes, well, then you're a writer. And he goes, you know, have you ever public spoke before? And I went, today. And he says, well, I think you're on the right track, you know? So that's actually how it started. I didn't go to college. I went to the military. So I didn't, you know, I don't have college courses of writing or anything under my belt. It's come very naturally to me. And of course, since then, since 2000, you know, gosh, that's 21 years. Wow, I'm really dating myself. That's 21 years ago. I've honed the skill, and I've come into my own much more, you know, of how I write and how I can reach my audience. Because I use all 5 senses. I don't just write a story with specifics and details and bullet points. That's not me at all. If I'm going to write something, it's going to tell a story and it's going to paint a picture, because I want the ones who are reading it to not only read it and say, oh, wow, I can resonate with that. I want them to feel it. I want them to be able to hear what I heard, or what the person I was interviewing, what they heard. I want them to smell what I smelled. You know, I want to paint that full picture. And so that's what I utilize all 5 senses. And that's worked really well for me. And I continue to hone that, and I'm comfortable with it. And I think I'm positive that's where God is leading me. And he gave me those gifts. You know, I'm on my walks every day with my dog, and I see this amazing sunrise. And I immediately get a small story in my head of how God's up there painting. Maybe he has his angels up there with this paintbrush, just painting all those different colors, all those different beautiful hues. And not only is the sky beautiful, but as it's touching the ground, how it, you know, glances off the dewdrops hanging off the tip of a blade of grass, and causes it to sparkle. And how you can smell the earth, and, you know, flowers that are blooming, or a tree that's blooming off in the distance. And you get that small whiff of it that just comes on this very soft breeze that almost feels like a whisper on your skin.
Wow. I love that. I love it.
That's what I think when I see a sunrise. That's how
Wow.
So that's what I mean. That's what I mean by writing with using all your senses. So
I love that. I love it.
Yeah, I'm actually working. It's another project. I'm working on a program to teach that. So I'm hoping that can come in maybe late fall, maybe early next year. I'm working on a program to teach beginner writers how to use their senses when they're out there, or even if you're just sitting in your living room and you have an idea come to you. There's still all kinds of stuff going on, you know, in any area that you're at. So I'm working on a program to, it's a short program, nothing long and detailed or anything like that, but just basic things where you can hone those skills yourself and become a better writer yourself. So
I love that. I love it. Because whenever you do that, then I'm gonna attend it. Because my coworker, she was like, I have like over 200 notebooks, and she was like, why do you have so many notebooks? And I was like, I journal. And she was like, journal? She was like, what do you write about? And I was like, everything. And she was like, really? Wow. Because I come to work with like a stack of notebooks, and she's like, why do you have all those notebooks? But
I have notebooks all over the place. I have like a stack of like 8 of them, and I have something written the topic of each one.
Wow.
So I know which one I can pull out, and let's say, look, this one's for marketing, this one's for ideas, this one's for training, and that's how, and they're all different colors. So I know which color to look for. So, there's a little tip for everybody. If you're a writer, an author, or whatever, go to a dollar store and just grab all kinds of different colored notebooks.
Here's all mine. I got them too.
Oh, I've got a drawer full of them and every time I go, I'm like, oh, they have a new color, and I'll grab one.
I do too. And then I carry my little book with me. This is the book I started reading. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it?
The 5 people of what?
The 5 people you see in heaven.
I've not read it, but I want to.
I haven't either. It's my first time reading it. I'm on page 8 though. But yeah, it's my first time reading it. And I was like, I'm going to read this book because I want something to inspire me. So who are a few of your favorite authors, and have any of them inspired any of your novels you've written?
There's no one no one author that's inspired me, because quite honestly, nature is what inspires me. And I've been asked that before, and I can never come up with just one author that has really just made me go, wow, Now the types of books I like all the Chicken Soup for the Soul, those type of books.
Yes, me too.
Because you're getting a taste from so many different people, those little snippets of others' lives from around the world. But nature inspires me. That's my main inspiration, and God.
Yes.
Because He's providing all of that. He's putting it right in front of my eyes every day. And I'm at a point in my life now where my eyes are open wide enough where I can see it and recognize it for what it is.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what inspires me.
I love it, because I have a prayer journal and I write in there every day, and I was like, God, please lead me where I need to be. And the next thing you know, I have like one of my favorite bands, one of my favorite bands, the sax players, coming on my show to interview with me. I was like, no way.
That is so awesome.
But yeah, I was praying for this too. I was like, please, Lord, lead me in the right direction where I need to be, where you want me to be. And right. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So what inspired you to create your podcast?
Well, my podcast, which is called Let Fear Bounce, started it last November of 2020. I had lost my job in the midst of COVID, and there was fear floating everywhere. I mean, if you recall, you couldn't turn your head or listen to the radio or watch TV or go anywhere without hearing about how everybody was so fearful of COVID and what was happening and loved ones getting it and all of that. And it was just everywhere. And I made a conscious decision for my own life. I said, yes, this is a very serious situation, but I cannot live each day in fear. I will not go to bed fearful, and I will not wake up fearful, because we weren't made to live in fear. And the Bible tells us that. And we're to give it up to God. So that's what I did. I said, okay, God, I'm giving it to you. I'm not going to live in fear. And then I was sitting there thinking, how can I get that out there and share other people, share their fears and how they're overcoming them, or how they're not letting them drive their days or their lives. And I was sitting there, literally sitting on the edge of the bed. Just one day, I knew nothing about doing a podcast.
Wow.
I think I'm going to do a podcast, and I am going to call it Let Fear Bounce. So I got on my computer and researched that whole day of how to do one, how to make one, how to start as a newbie beginner, not knowing nothing. And so I literally started one that day later on. And so that was November 23rd, my very first episode. And I am now at 58 episodes, less than a year later.
Wow. That's amazing.
I've had amazing guests on, amazing guests from all walks of life, from all over the world. And it's just, the stories that they share. And I love it, the folks that, because they're from all over the world, you get other people's cultures and what they're going through.
That's
And
true.
you realize when you're talking to people from all over the world, you realize that there are so many out there that are dealing with the same stuff you are. It doesn't matter if they live in a different country or they speak a different language.
That's
We're all
true.
humans. We're all humans on the same planet,
That's true.
period. Doesn't matter the color of your skin, your ethnicity, what country you live in, what language you speak. We're all humans, and all of our hearts are the same color.
That's
All of
true.
our hearts the same color, and God made all of us.
That's
Made
that's
all of us. And that's one thing that it's made my heart fill
mhm,
to meet and talk to all these people so different from me,
mhm.
but yet so very much the same.
Yes.
Then I'm in awe a lot of times when I'll get done and, get done with the podcast, with the interview or whatever, and we stop the recording, we'll end up talking for an hour afterwards,
Wow.
just chit chatting and getting to know it. And we'll be like, oh my God. And I'll be like, you're my sister. And I never even realized I had a sister that lived in, Australia.
That's
But
true.
it's been an amazing journey. And I'm so thankful that I started that even, and I'm that kind of person that's like, well, I think I want to do that. I think I'm supposed to do that. No, I know I'm supposed to, but I don't know how. I jump in, and if I have to teach myself, I teach myself, and then I just do it. I'm one of those people, but knowing that I was on the right track, I didn't have that feeling in my gut like, oh, should I really be doing this? The whole time it was, yes, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Yes, this is the path you're supposed to be on. So I want you to share people's stories, not only in your books, I want you to share them on this podcast too. So
Yeah.
it's just another avenue to get those, stories out there that can help someone somewhere else. And it could very well be on the other side of the world that you're someone that you're helping.
Yes,
No.
definitely. Wow. And you made like life long-term friendships from your podcast. That's what I've done. Like people still message me. They're like, "How are you feeling today? How are you doing?" Because I've told my story. So a lot of them check up on me and I'm like, this is nice having friends.
I've made some beautiful friends from different countries through my podcast.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yes. Amazing. And we keep in regular contact, and a couple of them, we're even working on little side projects together,
Amazing.
But it's just the friendship, the camaraderie, and just meeting people that their hearts are the same,
Yes.
and we never would have had that opportunity to meet had it not been that the world all of a sudden, it seemed like all of a sudden had to go virtual.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have the opportunity, so there's a plan. God's got his plan behind this whole thing,
It's true. That is true. So this is one of the questions outside of the questions I was going to ask you, but I know that as a podcaster, like you love all of your chats that you've had with all of your guests, but which one is your favorite and did you learn from it?
Oh, goodness. Wow. That's actually a hard one. There's a couple ladies that became widows unexpectedly. And it's two ladies, and their stories for me were so powerful of how, and they were so honest and open of how crushing that was to lose your spouse way too early, and those ladies, they're amazing. I'm almost starting to cry. They are amazingly strong women, and they will be the first to admit that they were an absolute complete wreck for months. And one of the ladies, it took her a couple of years, and their journey that they shared of how, when you lose a loved one, especially your spouse, your friends and family are all there, but they eventually fade back again.
Hmm.
And if you continue 6, 8, 9, 12 months down the road and you're still talking about your grief, it makes them very uncomfortable. And sometimes they just fade away altogether because
Yeah.
they can't handle your grief.
Hmm.
And they were sharing, there was three of them actually, three ladies. They shared, and they all had different journeys,
Wow.
but it was so much similar of, their grief, there's the heavy, heavy grief, like can't do anything grief. All three of them had a different length involved in it, but it was all the same. And they, the same steps and stuff. And now they're all three, they're thriving, and they've been able to find themselves and who they are as that, because they don't want to be looked at as a widow,
Hmm.
and everybody to be pitying them and looking at them with sad faces and stuff. And their journeys, those three ladies, I was just so inspired and impressed and in awe by them, because theirs was, I've went through a tough journey. You've had a tough journey. I've never lost someone that close to me. I've never had someone die like that close to me. So I can't say how I would react or go through it,
Hmm.
but listening to them, oh my goodness, it just, your heart melted for them. And the strength of the human spirit was so prevalent in all three of those ladies. So I would have to say those ones are the ones that stick out in my mind right now off the top of my head, because they were just such powerful, powerful stories.
Wow, that is amazing. I want to thank you so much, Kim, for coming on my podcast and chatting with me today.
Thank you
This
very
is
much for having me. This has been fun. This has been a lot of fun. I feel like I
it.
could just talk forever.
You have a great day.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.